This is one of the greatest watches of 2020. And no, we're not talking about some overhyped, overpriced piece from Geneva. We're talking about something much more interesting and with more taste. And it is actually quite special that we've got it here because it was already sold out within hours. It is the unbelievably good looking and the very special Nomos Lambda 175 years watchmaking in Glashutte. Now, with a name like that, it actually is the perfect piece to tell a little bit more about watchmaking in Glashutte. Glashutte is a small city in the southeast of Germany that is famous for only one thing: watchmaking. It all started 175 years ago when the local Kaiser wanted the farmers to do something. One Mr. Lange had been to Switzerland to see watchmaking there and decided he would do the same in Germany. And so he brought high-end watchmaking to Glashutte. After the war, the Soviets took over and decided that all watch companies should be nationalized and produce cheap, simple watches. This undressing of German watchmaking lasted until the fall of the Berlin Wall. And that's actually where Nomos fits in. Just 2 months after the fall of the wall, a West German called Roland Schwertner moved to Glashutte and started his own brand there. A brand that would become the fresh face of the resurrection of watchmaking in Glashutte. And their promise was clear from the beginning. Great quality Bauhaus style watches with in-house movements from Glashutte. Now the watch we're reviewing here is called the Lambda. And it's been in the Nomos collection for a while now, but it's always been only available in gold. And that made the watch quite pricey, like 10k or even more. I think it was even 12k. 12k, that's a lot of money for a Nomos watch. But this one is priced far more decently. And that's why this limited edition is so special. It is made in steel and it's not even 6,000 euros. Now that's still a lot of money, but look what you're getting for it. On the wrist it wears incredibly comfortable. It has a 40.5mm steel case and a cordovan strap, which is basically horse leather. The case shape is excellent and I think it fits every wrist quite well because of the shape of it. It even has a beautifully designed buckle, which is worth mentioning. And the design is made in the purest of Bauhaus traditions, with the most minimalist expression a watch can offer. There is, however, a small problem with that. Because if you're gonna make a minimalist watch, then every single detail should be done perfectly. And it isn't. My first problem really comes with the glass. If you first look at it, it's just beautiful, nicely domed glass. But if you look better, you will actually see there is a slight distortion to it. And it's not only this model. I actually used to have a Metro as well, and that had the same problem. And there's one more problem with the glass, because now I'm not completely sure, but it doesn't seem to have an anti-reflective coating, or maybe it has only one side. And that means it has a certain shine to it, which makes it look a bit cheaper than it actually is. It really takes the shine out of that animal blue dial. And I think that's really a missed chance. Or did I say animal dial? Nomos actually calls it animal blue. And then I was looking at it thinking, it doesn't really look like enamel. So I actually asked it, is it enamel? And they were like, no, not really. It is actually a few layers of lacquer. Now, lacquer is no problem to me, but then just don't call it enamel or blue enamel, whatever, just call it lacquer, okay? And that really is a penalty point for you, Nomos. Just call it what it is. And it is a beautiful dial, so don't get me wrong about that, but it's not enamel. And one more detail that didn't get perfectly right is the hands. Now, if you have hands this long and you have a dial that's slightly sloped, then also the hands should slope a little bit with it. Otherwise it will look like the hands are standing up. And that's actually happening with this one as well. Like the minute hand, it should have a small nick in the end. It's what I think. It's my personal opinion, okay? But this is my channel, so well, I can say whatever I like. And I think they should have, let the minute hand go a little bit down in the end. Otherwise, it just seems to point upwards a bit. And I think the case would have benefited from a little bit more detailing. Right now, everything is polished, which is beautiful, but I also would have liked to see some more brushed parts, and that would still give the watch a very minimalist feel, but also a little bit more luxurious feel, because that's what you like to see. You like to see the contrast between the polished surfaces and brushed surfaces. But turn the watch around and the row is over. Just like a girl appearing in front of you in lingerie after you had a little fight. Everything is forgiven as soon as you see this. Because what we see here is simply one of the best looking movements ever made in this price category. And it is not only very well made and designed, it also shows all the typical Glashutte finishing, like the swan neck regulator, the Sonnenschliff, the 3/4 plate, and even some anglage. But the nicest of all is that handwritten decoration on the balance cock, which actually says "Mit Liebe gefertigt in Glashütte," which means something like "This is what Tinder looks like in Glashutte." No, not really, obviously. It actually means "made with love in Glashutte." The caliber is called the DUW 1001, and that actually stands for Deutsche Uhren werke, and it was all developed and built in-house by Nomos. Now, all the marketing blah 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 aside, this is really why you want to have an in-house movement, because you can actually see there was a very free thinker working on this, and he really made a movement that's so personal to this watch, to this model, that it is absolutely a plus. Just look at that incredible sun-like striping and those rubies with the incredible finishing. Normally these things are called jewels, but in this case I would rather call it a pearl necklace. Now this really is the work of watchmaking excellence, and I'd say they're nearly putting Patek to shame with this finishing for this pricing. It even has an 84 hours power reserve coming from 2 mainspring barrels, and it is all regulated to chronometer standards. It also has a power reserve indicator that looks like it's going to 11. The price actually is 5,800 euros, which is absolutely an incredible price for this quality. And with that, it is actually time to put the watch to the real test. Is this watch cock or is it cool? Wow, that's so cool. You might as well call it undercooled. It doesn't really shout money at all. It shouts, yeah, what does it shout? It shouts taste, like nothing at all. Now, one might be tempted to say that Nomos has been punching above their weight with this horlogerie watch, and some minor details actually do support that position. And in this price category, you can also go for an IWC or an Omega. And that really is some serious wrist presence competition. And I actually think it all comes down to this. How important do you think that wrist presence really is? Do you want to have your watch tell you, wow, that's a big guy? Or do you want to have your watch telling you, wow, that's a real smart guy? Because in the end, this really is a fantastically intelligent watch full of character. And from a watchmaking point of view, and considering this price, I am genuinely very impressed. This really is something that really makes my watch heart tick. It is ambitious and it has so much personality. Without showing off, I actually think this is one of the greatest watches of 2020. and I've not seen one Swiss manufacturer complete this package below 6,000 euros. So I'd say, Switzerland, are you ready to live up to this challenge? Period. Jeez, that's hot. And by the way, while you're still watching, I'm not going to undress any further before you subscribe. So please subscribe and see what happens in the next video. Thank you and bye bye.